I had to put Vicks VapoRub in my beard before I could even walk into that house. 23 cats, and the urine had soaked into the plywood underneath the carpet. That house paid me $40,000, and every wholesaler in town drove right past it. And look, that's not even the strangest story I'm about to tell you. The next one is about a man who sat down at the closing table and wrote a check for $40,000 of his money just to give me his house. Then last, I'm going to tell you a story about a 74-year-old woman who sold everything she owned and moved by herself to Thailand. That last one is the reason I'm sitting in Bangkok right now. By the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the thing about this business that took me over 1,000 deals to understand, and that I've never once heard anybody teach. Quick catch up, if you're new here, I run a U.S. real estate business from Bangkok, Thailand. We buy houses and wholesale houses. We've done over 1,000 deals, and I do it 11 time zones away from every single one of them. I've been sued, I've been through bankruptcy, I've hired 30 salespeople and fired every one of them. Those stories are all on this channel. Here's what almost everyone in this business believes, and I believed it for years. Your income is a function of how many leads you get. More marketing, more calls, more deals. It's a volume problem. It's a finding problem. That's what every single course, every mastermind, every guy on Instagram with a rented Lamborghini will try to sell you. But the three most profitable, most important sellers of my entire career weren't found that way. They walked right up to me. Any wholesaler in America could have had them. So the real question isn't how they found me or how I found them. It's why nobody else stuck around for the win. I'm going to walk you through all three. Then I'll tell you what they all have in common, because it's not what you think. And it's going to change how you look at every lead you get from this moment forward. It's a hot day in Georgia. This is back before Bangkok, when I still drove to every appointment myself. I knock on the door, and a woman opens the door. Let's call her Jennifer. She smiles, says hello. She was kind. But the smell hits me like a slap across the face. I want you to understand something. I've walked into hoarder houses. I've walked into houses with holes in the roof and animals living in the walls. This was the worst thing my body had ever experienced. It wasn't a smell. It was a substance in my mouth. And she's standing there holding the door open, waiting for me to come on in. So I hear myself say, "It's such a lovely day outside. Wouldn't it be great if we just sat on the front porch for a minute and talked?" And so we did. We sat down, and I'm nodding, I'm asking her questions, and I'm listening to her, but I swear to you, a second track is running in my head. The whole time I'm thinking, how in God's name am I going to walk through this house? I needed about 15 minutes inside, and I knew that I couldn't hold my breath for 15 minutes. I'm running scenarios and genuinely considering telling this woman that I can't do it. And then I remembered my glove box. I told her a small little fib, and I said, "My pen isn't working, and I'm going to go grab another one from the car." I walk out to the car like a normal person, and I open that glove box, and I grab the jar of Vicks VapoRub that I had in there. I put it all over my beard and mustache as thick as I possibly could without coming back looking like a lunatic. And there I am, standing in a driveway, breathing menthol. And I thought, this is my life support system. This is the only reason I'm getting through the next 15 minutes. And I did get through. And here's what I found on the other side of that smell. 23 cats, a house full of trash, stacks of things nobody had touched in 10 years. And the urine had gone into the subfloors, into the wood. It had soaked in. I want you to really hear this next part. There was no version of the world where that woman could have sold that house with a realtor. None. No agent was putting that on the MLS. No buyer was going to walk through that. No lender was going to fund that. Every normal door that a normal person has to sell a house was welded shut for Jennifer. I bought that house. I wholesaled it to an investor, and I made $40,000. That investor gutted it, cut it to the subfloors, put new ones in, and it's a home again. There's a family living in it right now, and Jennifer got a nice little apartment. She adopted out a lot of her cats down to a number that a human can actually live with, and everybody won. And I want to be honest about why I was there to make that happen. I was there because I had Vicks in my beard and nobody else did. Now, I thought that was the strangest thing that could ever happen to me, but check this one out. I was at the closing. A man sits across the table from me and he writes a check for $40,000 out of his own pocket so that I would take his house. Let me say that again in plain English, because people don't believe it when I say it the first time. He didn't get paid to sell his house. He paid to sell his house. You see, he'd refinanced at the top of the market. He'd pulled out cash twice, once for a business that didn't make it and once for a divorce that did. Then the market softened and the roof went out and he stopped being able to make the payment. By the time he called me, the house was worth less than what he owed on it by a wide margin. He was 4 payments behind and the letters had started coming. We ran the numbers together on the phone and I told him the truth. Even at the best price I could get you, you're gonna be short. I told him what he'd need to bring to the table just to get out. And there was a long silence and he said, "So I have to pay you to take my house?" And I said, "No, you have to pay the bank. I'm just the door." At the table that day, he didn't hesitate. That's the part I still think about. He didn't argue. He didn't try to retrade me. He didn't try to get $1,000 back or, be angry about the situation. He just wrote the check, slid it across, and sat back in the chair and let out a breath like he'd been holding it for years. And then he shook my hand and he thanked me. He thanked me. He was $40,000 poorer than when he walked in, and he thanked me. And he meant it. That's the day I understood something that took me way too long. He was never selling a house. He was buying an exit from pain. And the price of an exit has almost nothing to do with the price of the asset. Every wholesaler I know is out here negotiating on the number. The number was never the deal. For that man, 40 grand was cheap because what he was actually buying was the ability to sleep and to stop flinching every time the mailbox opened. I call that a negative deal. And here's the thing about a negative deal. Your CRM will never show you one. Your lead scoring will never flag one as a great opportunity. Every filter this industry teaches you to build on would have thrown that man's name straight in the trash, because on paper, he had no equity, and no equity means no deal. But he wasn't a lead with no equity. He was a man drowning 4 feet from a boat. By this point, I had done over 1,000 deals, and I'll be honest with you, what it does to a person when you've done that many deals is it desensitizes you. Nothing shocks you anymore. Every seller is unique, and yet every seller starts to look the same. You get efficient, and you get a little bit dead behind the eyes. I was living in Puerto Rico, and I opened my morning brief. My morning brief is just a list of deals that my reps at the time had signed. And one of the lines said, 74-year-old woman selling everything, moving alone to Thailand. What? And I sat there and thought, has this woman lost her mind? I want to be honest about my first reaction, because it wasn't business, it was fear. It was, who's looking out for her? 74 years old, alone, selling everything she owns in the country she's from to move to the other side of the world? So I did something that I basically never did at that time, which was I picked up the phone and I called her myself. Not as the owner of the company, but I called her because I was genuinely worried about her. Her name is Ann. And I'm going to tell you what I thought that call was going to be. I thought I was going to gently talk to an older woman and talk her out of a mistake. I thought I was going to cancel the contract. But 4 minutes in, she stops me and says, "Jason, are you at a computer?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Good. Type this in. Copacabana, Jomtien Beach." And up comes this beautiful condo directly on the beach, floor-to-ceiling glass, the kind of place I genuinely thought was for the elite, for a different tier of human being than me and definitely Ann. She says, "My rent's going to be $600 a month, Jason." I want you to understand, I was sitting in Puerto Rico paying $8,000 a month. And a 74-year-old woman I had called out of pity had just showed me a life that I had no idea was available. I wasn't rescuing Ann. Ann was rescuing me. I just didn't know it yet. That phone call is why I began to look at Thailand. That's the whole origin. It ends with me moving here, building my entire business 11 zones from my market, and meeting the love of my life. I don't keep up with sellers after a deal. It's just the truth of the business. Ann is the exception. Ann and I are still close. I consider her family. This past Christmas, we drove down and spent 2 days with her at her condo on that beach. A 74-year-old woman sold me a house. In exchange, she gave me an entire life. So here's what those three sellers have in common, and it took me 1,000 deals to see it. Not one of them was hard to find. A woman with 23 cats in a hoarder house is not a hidden lead. Her neighbors knew, the mailman knew, a man 4 payments behind on an underwater house is on every foreclosure list in the country. He was on a list. And Ann, she raised her hand. Every wholesaler in that market had access to these people, and every single one of them was passed over. You see, when I first started in this business, I had a mentor, and he told me this. He said, "When you get a lead, I don't care if it's a mobile home where they owe $1 million, it's currently on fire, and in the middle of a bankruptcy, you go to that appointment because you never know what's going to happen." Yeah, you see, you don't. You never know what's going to happen with a deal. And so I give you that same advice. Always follow up on the lead. Always chase them because you never know what's going to happen. There's been so many deals that I thought, there's no way this is going to work out. And it did. And there's been a lot of deals that I knew they were going to work out for sure. And they didn't. You've been told by every person who's ever sold you anything in this industry that you just need more leads. They told you it's a finding game, but it's not. It's a staying game. You're not competing with other wholesalers on marketing spend. You're competing with them on tenacity. You're competing with them on the one thing that puts so much value in this business, and it's not in any course because you can't sell it. How much unpleasantness can you deal with before you leave? I call it the tolerance premium. Your income in this business is not set by how many leads you generate. It's set by the highest level of disgust, awkwardness, grief, and human mess that you can stay calm inside of. That's your ceiling. That is your whole ceiling. Everything above your tolerance line belongs to someone else, and everything below it, it is a red ocean of people fighting for that same clean, easy 3-bedroom with a tired kitchen type lead. The competition isn't a market condition. The competition is a comfort condition, and you are the one who sets it. Now, here's the part I actually want to take with you, so I want you to write this down. There's an old line in sales. They say, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I remember the first time I heard it. It was actually my mom that told me this when I was a kid. She was in real estate, and she said to me, Jason, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You've heard it. It's probably on a poster in one of your friends' offices. And the reason it never works is that everyone treats caring as a closing technique. Build rapport, mirror them, ask about their grandkids, get the signature. Sellers can smell that a mile away. I promise you, they can smell that the way I could smell that house from the doorstep. Caring is not how you close the deal. Caring is the only reason you're still in the room to see the deal. I didn't put Vicks in my beard because it was a clever tactic. I put Vicks in my beard because it was a kind woman who was standing in a doorway waiting for someone, anyone, to not run from her. The $40,000 was not a reward because I was smart. It was a reward for staying. And Ann wasn't just a deal. I called her because I was scared for her. I was ready to terminate the contract. There was no version of that phone call that made me a single dollar. And that phone call gave me Bangkok, my business, my whole life. You don't get paid for what you know. You get paid for what you're willing to sit in. That's the jar. That's the whole business. Everybody's out there hunting for a better lead source. The entire game is being able to breathe where other people can't. So the next time you get the lead that smells bad, the one with no equity, the one where the seller is crying or hoarding or 74 and about to do something that terrifies you, that's not a bad lead. That's the only lead with no competition. If you're getting value from this content, like it, comment below. I really want to see your thoughts. I want to know what you think about this content, and then share it with everyone that you know. It helps me and it helps this channel so much to grow. Next video, I'm going to talk about how real estate wholesalers can get in trouble and even go to jail. We're going to discuss, is real estate wholesaling legal and ethical? You do not want to miss that episode. See you next time.